Do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners who may be navigating their own career, transitioning, whether they going from one field to another, or they want to enter the entrepreneurial space? They want to do an entrepreneurial endeavor.
I would say the biggest thing that I've learned thus far when doing anything in terms of entrepreneur, and while that may be a little bit of a challenge at the beginning, find a way to put your service or your product in front of the people who are looking for it. I spent a lot of time trying to convince people to want what I had.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that could be a challenge. But when you're first starting, and I'm not saying that this is what's going to scale you to the next level. Eventually, you want to begin to build your brand, and you want to do other things that are going to scale you beyond six figures. But I'm talking about in the initial phase, in getting to that six-figure phase where you're able to live off of your business, where you're able to support your family. You want to find a way to get your service or your product in front of the people who are actually looking for it. That's one thing. Also, you want to use your unique perspective or your unique journey to your benefit. So, whatever background that you have or whatever journey that you went through, even if you feel like, oh, there's no way that that's relevant, you can find a way of crafting it to take everything from your past to use it for whatever it is that you're trying to do. And that's what I had to do with my ministry. I could tell you for a fact when I moved to California, I tried my best to get a job, right? But all I had on my resume was ministry. And
College degree in
that's
ministry.
there's no real like tangible job skills, so to speak. No one sees that and says, "Oh man, you would be perfect for this job." And I really struggled with that because, and I know a lot of people in ministry who struggle with that because they may go into ministry and they end up leaving and trying to start a new career, but they're like, I don't have any job skills. Like, what did I learn that it's going to allow me to be able to actually make a living outside of this? And I dealt with the same thing. And that's what made me feel so hopeless, even back in Florida, was I'm like, dude, what am I going to be able to do with this? Like, I have a degree, but I don't have anywhere that's going to accept my qualifications as something that's going to be valuable. And I had to find a way of piecing these things together, and it took time. But when I did, I was like, okay, I can build a career from this because there is a group of people that I uniquely connect with, that I uniquely understand, that will actually take what I have and be appreciative of it. And now I'm able to share my story with more people and show them that even if they feel hopeless, like even if they feel like there is no hope, God can open up doors where it doesn't seem like there's any doors to be open. And over the past 3 or 4 years that I've been able to serve well over 100 churches. I've built so many great relationships with these people. I've received so many referrals in multiple different industries. So while I've kind of focused on churches, I do work outside of the church as well, right? Because pastors will refer people in their congregation to work with me. I've been able to work in multiple different denominations. So now I'm able to see the Christian faith from so many different lenses and get so many different perspectives and build so many different relationships through the work that I do. So I'm so grateful that I'm now on the other side of that where I'm able to say, man, God really did open up a door for me because I literally had no clue what was going to happen or how I was going to be able to make it out.
That's beautiful. And to piggyback on what you just said, I think that may be another episode because a majority of the people that start in ministry don't end their career in ministry. And having to transition and not necessarily having to become an entrepreneur, having to transition and be able to communicate the soft skills and the hard skills that you learned as a minister on your resume and during an interview is something that I think us sharing with our audience will be very beneficial. Because I remember talking to ministers who had to go get jobs and ended up in, low level call center jobs where, their skills weren't being used,
Right.
and being in ministry, you're forced to develop a lot of skills, but it's hard sometimes to communicate what that skill set is because, you can't go in there and say, well, I helped 10 people come to Jesus. Okay.
I baptized
Yeah.
500 people.
Yeah.
You guys have any role that could help with? I
Yeah, like,
taught I taught this many Bible studies.
yeah, yeah. So that being able to take that and present it to a potential employer as a skill set that would be beneficial in their organization is something that I think ministers and people going out of ministry transitioning into the work environment would.
And to be honest, bro, like while I was back at that point, I was so depressed and I was so down. I'm really grateful that the journey did go the way it did
Yeah,
because now there's a lot more liberty. Now I'm in a career where I can literally be anywhere in the world and still do it. There was so much that I was able to experience and now that I have now that I if I did not go through that journey I would not have. Right? So I have flexibility where I'm able to basically do this work anywhere if I wanted to. And I know there's a lot of people who want that type of lifestyle as well. The ability to scale, like there's no limit on, when you have the certain systems in place, there's really no limit to the how large you can grow this type of business. So there's also that. And there's just a lot of benefits that if I had not taken the route that I had gone, and I think it goes back even to your story that this was a journey that God ultimately called me to. I believe that you have to have the toughness, a phrase that we sort of created. What was it? What was it that you mentioned? This
delusion.
what was the phrase again? Exactly. This delusion about yourself
Yeah,
that you're able to overcome any type of situation. And just because you're going through something, that does not mean that's the final journey. And that's something that I really want to impress for people who may feel the way that I did. When I was hopeless, when I was financially buried, and I was just in a place where I did not know what I was going to do, little by little, God can open up the doors for you to find success. You have to just have confidence in yourself. You have to have wisdom and be able to find the people who are around you and find the people who can help you to really climb and get to the next level. And over time, things will begin to open up to your understanding where you're like, wow, I can do it this way and it's going to get me a better result. So, constantly being open to reinvention and new opportunities, I think that's what's going to allow for you to have success.
and another jewel that I caught that you dropped is stop spending time convincing people. Find the people who need your services. Like convincing them that they need your services. So I have a similar example where I was trying to help a customer buy a decent priced property, and they would not take my professional opinion and that's backed up by data on how we should proceed.
Yeah.
And I gave them the opportunity to go. I did what they said for two of the attempts. At the third one, I said we have to do it my way because that's the way it's
Yeah.
going to work. Because this is what I do day in day out. And they did it, and it worked. And then they wanted to revert back to what they wanted to do it their way. I said, well, I fired myself because I realized that that customer doesn't value what I'm bringing. And a lot of times entrepreneurs and people starting businesses, they're so busy trying to convince people of their value that there's other people that are actually looking for what they're offering
Exactly.
that they're missing because they're over here talking to a wall. No, you need this. I can do. No, go find your people. Go find your tribe.
Really, in a real short time frame into this entrepreneurial journey, I realized I am not a good salesperson. There are some people who are very talented at selling,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy who can convince you that you want something that you don't.
Yeah.
So learning that and that it kind of goes into knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to convince yourself that or convince people that they really want what you have, why don't you just position yourself to be found by the people who do?
Yeah. 100%.
Because then the conversation isn't, you really want this. We already have established that you do.
That's the biggest hurdle.
Now it's just figuring out how to make the numbers work.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a much easier and much less stressful way of building a business, in my opinion. Right? There are some people who have the ability to convince people that they want something that they don't.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, to be honest, those people who have that approach to business, they end up in many cases, the really good salesmen, they're the ones that end up on YouTube like, this person scammed me. They did this. And like, some people, they can live with those types of you. I'm not that guy. I don't want people going around like feeling like I scam them or I try to convince them that they want something that they don't. I want to have, because I want to have a good relationship with every person that I work with, right? I want them to feel good about the relationship like I do, right? I want it to be a win-win experience. And the way you do that is just figuring out how to position yourself to be found by the people who want your services. Like I do SEO for churches now. That's a big thing that I've been doing for the last few months. And just the other day, I was talking to one of the pastors that I work with, and she was like, 3 people showed up at church. We never get that many people because we have been doing SEO on their website, just making sure whoever wanted, particularly a Methodist church, this is a Methodist church that we're working with, whoever wants to find a Methodist church in that area, that they'll be able to get found. And she's like, man, now we're getting like an influx of guests who will show up. They'll find us on our website and they'll show up. And I'm like, yo, that's a really big deal, because you're not running an ad necessarily to your church on Facebook, but you're making sure that the people who want what you have
You're
are
there.
you're there for them to see it. And that's even in church, right? Like we were always trying to convince people, come join my church, come join my church. And they're like, instead of saying, yo, what do you want? Let me try to convince you that like I have what you're looking for, whether that's prayer, whether that's, some service that is going to help me. Don't just try to sell me on my church, right? Or on your church. Like, I'm just trying to get you into my church. Like, fam, that's not the best way to build a church. And that's the reason why a lot of churches from the denomination that I was a part of or that I affiliate with, a lot of them are small. And it's because they're spending so much of their time trying to convince people, selling their church instead of serving the people who want that. Because actually there are people who want that.
There's, and you make a very valid point where it's a area that presents an opportunity for growth, where churches they're even presenting it to their loyal members. Hey, bring somebody to this church. But that's not how it works. If we retell our story, we could pinpoint something that we were looking for in our lives that church provided. We didn't go to that church because it's that church. We went to that church because we were looking for community, we were looking for family, we were looking to build our faith, we were lost, whatever it is, we were looking for hope, whatever it is that we were looking for, we were looking for belonging, like whatever it is we were looking for, we found it there. It wasn't that we went there because it's, it's the church. It's because of what we needed, not because of what they were providing. So you have to serve a need, and that's entrepreneurial 101. What problem are you solving? What need are you meeting? That's the same thing in
And
the church.
who are you able to serve? Who are you uniquely able or positioned to serve
Yeah,
for that need, right? And where do they hang out, or where are they currently at, and how can you creatively position yourself where when they're looking for that need, you're able to be found?
you're there instead of telling them to come find you. You're there. Instead of saying, "Hey, come."
Or the people who you've helped, they're eager to tell other people that they know that have that problem about you.
Because we know, being in business, that referrals are a powerful thing. Because when you get a referral, you already have established credibility. Because that person that referred you lend you their credibility. Hey, use Larry for your marketing. He'll do a great job for you. So now he doesn't have to, or she doesn't have to say, man, am I wasting my money? Because this person already vouched for you. Same thing in real estate. Is he really going to represent me? Is he really going to put me above his next payday? So
Because people ask their friend whenever they're looking to make like major purchases or anything,
yeah,
they want to ask people that they trust to tell them to point them to a person that's going to be able to help them.
yeah,
And that's a huge part of it. So it's credibility, but it's like a lot of times it's very lazy to just focus so much on the sell
yeah,
that you're not really building the credibility. Like I know of a church here where we live now. We're in the Atlanta area that launched a couple years ago. They're overflowing with people, and they provide such good service to the people that people are literally influencers, and people are creating TikToks and creating videos unsolicited
yeah.
about how great of an experience that they had, and they're posting them online, and it's getting views where you go into those comments, you're like, hey, where's that church located? And the pastor is not telling them to do
Yeah.
this. This is something that they're doing because they had such a great experience that they want to share that with
Their
other
spirit,
people.
yeah.
And that's the thing that we want. Like that, that's way more powerful than running a huge ad campaign to a webinar where you're there trying to sell them something. So what we're telling you is not like gonna make us rich, right? Like what we're telling you is like really find a way, and it's gonna look different for everyone, and it's gonna require some creativity because it may look different depending on your budget, but depending on whatever it is, your unique circumstance, your unique community, your unique skill sets, your unique tools, all of those things can create an opportunity where you can be found by the people who want what you have. And that's how, if you build a business that way, you're building one that's going to be sustainable, that you can eventually scale and really get. And I think we can both attest to doing it that way and valuing relationships over revenue,
Yeah.
like really wanting to build healthy, holy relationships that are mutually beneficial, where the people who work with you actually had a good experience with you, not you just sold them something and then afterwards they're like, man, you didn't give me what
What you promised.
what you promised. And it's not to say that we're 100% perfect. Like, I've had experiences too where the project didn't go the way that either of us went, but I can tell you that the people that I've worked with, they're not going to say that they couldn't find me after a while or anything like that. Like, I made sure I did everything in my power I could to help each person that I worked with.
Yeah.
And I think when you do it that way, it's the harder way, but I think long term it's a lot more sustainable.
And on that note, if you find any value from our conversations here, please subscribe, click the notification button, share it with your friends. Like, hey, it's a quick listen. It's a quick listen. You're driving to work, you're driving home. It's a quick listen, and you're trying to find the way to have the faith to take the leap, or have the faith to start your side hustle that will eventually be your entrepreneurial journey, or you just want to go from assistant manager to manager. You want to go from employee to assistant manager. You want to move up from middle management to C-level. Whatever it is that you aspire to do, we'll take the journey with you, and take this journey with us, and I think we'll add a lot of value.